Hello everyone and welcome to the second part of looking at the key results in the cost of supply study. So the purpose of this video is to take you through some of the key results that we analyze when we are writing the cost of supply study report. So for the purpose of this video, we are going to focus on two main sheets, which will be your cost results year 2 as well as your summary charts year 2. So in the first sheet, the cost results year 2, the purpose of this sheet is to show you the cost reflective charges. Before I continue with the video, I'd like to make a disclaimer that the cost reflective charges that you'll see in this sheet only serve to show you how much you would need to charge if you wanted to be cost reflective. These are recommendations and it doesn't necessarily mean that your tariffs must be exactly the same as them. So if you read the Electricity Pricing Policy or the Electricity Regulations Act or the NESA's Cost of Supply Framework, you will see that they outline the tariff design principles, which shows you the considerations that you must make when you are designing tariffs. So this means that the final tariffs that you design may deviate from what is your cost reflective charges. So similar to what we saw in first part from the other sheets, you will see that this particular sheet has a lot of tables, that has a lot of formulas, and the purpose is just to show you how they got to the final values. However, I'm not going to take you through this, and if you're interested in the details, you're more than welcome to follow the tables as well as the formulas. The first table that I'll focus on is the very last table at the end. And this table shows you the average cost reflective charges. So it shows you on average cents per kilowatt hours, how much you would need to charge if you wanted to recover all of your costs. So this is how much it's costing you to service your customers on average. So all of these customers that you have. And the second table that you'll find is around row 59, this table here. And to see those charges properly, you would need to hide from column I all the way until column AL. So once you've highlighted that, you can right click and select hide. You'll be able to see this broken down into the cost drivers. So this is how much it costs you for the energy cost. So it's costing you around R2.24 per kilowatt hour to service this customer. It costs you around 208 rands per kVA per month, and it costs you around 146 rand per POD per month. So if you wanted to be fully cost effective, this would be the tariffs that you charge to your customers to recover all of your costs. But like I said, the tariff design principles and other key considerations are there in place for a reason. So this may not always be the case that your tariffs will be exactly the same as what you see here. The second sheet that we'll focus on is the summary charts year 2. So this sheet will show you all the graphs that there are in this tool for the purpose of writing any analysis, whether it's your cost of supply report or any other analysis that you may need. So the first graph that I will focus on will be this green and blue one. And the purpose of this graph is to show you how much your revenue requirement would look like over the upcoming four years. And you'll see that this graph is broken down into two sections. The green bar represents the retail business and the blue bar represents the wires business. So by definition, the wires costs are your network related costs. For example, your network repairs and maintenance costs or any other costs that is related to your network. And the retail business is just the business of buying and selling electricity. So your retail costs will predominantly be the cost you incur to buy electricity from Eskom or any other cost that is related to that. So you'll see in this graph that it's splitting your revenue requirement into two main businesses. So it means 82% of your revenue requirement for year one is your retail related costs, and the remaining 18% is your wires cost. And it's showing you the split over the different years. The second graph that we look at is this one that is comparing your revenue to your cost. So the first bar that is a bit peach in color shows you the total revenue that you are receiving using the current tariffs that you are charging your customers. And the second bar shows you the current cost that you're incurring in the current year. And the third bar shows you how much you're going to incur in the year two. And year two, by definition, is the year that you are going to be designing your tariffs for. So you want to know how much you need to increase your tariffs by in order to recover this cost. So when you're comparing this cost with your current revenue from your current tariffs, you can see how much you need to increase your current tariffs in order to recover this total cost. The other one that we're looking at is the yearly breakdown by function. So it's similar to the graph above. It shows you your revenue requirement over the 4 years, and then it further divides your revenue requirement into the key main functions. For example, the orange bar will represent your energy purchase, the blue bar will represent your capex, and the purple bar will represent your OPEX and surplus. So in my particular example, I can see for year one that around 29% of my revenue requirement is spent on my OPEX and surplus, and the remaining 71% or so is spent on buying electricity, so forth. The other graph that we're looking at is the comparison of the breakdown of your revenue as well as the breakdown of your costs. So you will see that in both the bars, they have three main blocks. There's the blue blocks, which shows you the energy bar. Then there's the red one, which shows you the demand bar. And then there's the green one, which shows you the customer bar. So with the BAU rates, basically shows you the breakdown of your revenue. So from the total revenue that I received, about 70% of that comes from the energy related charges. About 20% of the revenue comes from the demand related charges, and the remaining 10% comes from the customer related charges. So to make it much more simple, let me give an example. If I'm selling electricity to my customers and I receive 100 rand in revenue, that means from the 100 rand, the 70 rand I received it as a result of charging my customers the rand per kilowatt hour charge. The 20 rand I received it as a result of charging them the rand per kVA charge, and the remaining 10 rand I received it as a result of charging them the rand per POD per month. So ideally for cost effectivity, we would like the similar breakdown that we have in revenue to be similar to what we have in cost to serve. So moving to cost to serve, I can see that around 65% of my costs are spent on buying electricity from Eskom or wherever I'm buying electricity. Around 30 or so percent is spent on my network, and the remaining 15% or so is spent on servicing my customers. So for full cost reflectivity, I would like to see my bars aligning, meaning my blue bar is on the same length as my blue bar on the revenue, my red bar on the cost being on the same size as my red bar on my revenue, as well as my customer bar being on the same. So that would be what we deem as cost reflectivity. So when we want to restructure our tariffs to align with our costs, this is the picture that we would hope to see, the alignment. But like we've already mentioned before, that is not always possible for all the different types of customers that you have. The last graphs that I'll show for the purpose of this business would be this one, the over and under recovery of your costs. So this looks at your current revenues and your current cost for each of the customers that you have. Which ones are you over recovering from and which ones are paying below cost? So this allows you to see that when you are designing tariffs for your individual customers, which ones are carrying the burden and which ones are being subsidized. So this also tries to show you that you don't necessarily have to apply the same tariff increase across all your customers, because you are incurring different costs to service your different types of customers. And the similar graph that you see here, the purple one, the purpose is to see after you've designed your new tariffs that you'll be submitting to NESA, what will the impact look like on your customers? Now that I've applied maybe my 15% increase, what will the burden look like for certain customers, and how will other customers still be paying below cost? So that's it for the part 2 of looking at the key results on the cost of supply study.